Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Karen Kozia Phillips. C News is live at noon.
And I'm Nasira Mohammed with sport.
Topping the news at this time, the Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi is asking the opposition to await the publication of certain bills to be taken to Parliament before giving advice on constitutional requirements. He was responding to statements made by the opposition leader and some of her members on Wednesday as they lashed out at Mr. Al-Rawi for saying he intends to take certain bills to Parliament which will not need a 3/5 majority to be passed. On Thursday, the AG issued a statement on the matter saying the government will, in accordance with the rule of law, table legislation for debate in the two houses of Parliament, which is specifically designed to facilitate the peace, order and good governance of Trinidad and Tobago. He said legislation can be passed by way of a simple majority if it does not violate the enshrined rights contained in Sections 4 and 5 of the Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Workers at Angostura Limited are at this time engaged in a lunchtime protest at the company's compound in Lavental. They are continuing their call for the chairman, Dr. Rolf Balgobin, to step down or be fired following allegations of sexual misconduct leveled against him. C News spoke with union leader Michael Anisette this morning for an update.
In the workers' estimation, an unwillingness and neglect to treat with the issue in a meaningful way, in that nothing has been reported to the union. It appears that there is no movement in terms of the investigations that the company would have said that they are conducting into the allegation under the whistleblower policy, as the chairman continues to operate.
This issue has been going on for a few weeks now, and according to Mr. Anisette, their action will continue until the workers feel they have gotten what is required.
On the pavement to send a clear message to the management and the powers that be on the board that this matter is not forgotten. It would not be swept under the carpet. It is not a 9-day wonder. It is a fundamental human rights issue which must be addressed.
Other news now, 30-year-old Matthew King, the man charged with the murder of Jamilia De Revenaux, is to appear in court this afternoon. Christopher O'Connor and Jamal Lewis, who were charged with perverting the course of justice in relation to an allegation they sought to aid the accused in his escape, are also expected to go to court. On Wednesday, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions gave instructions to charge the three. De Revenaux was found with her throat slit in the covered car park at Movietown, Port of Spain on Sunday, February 5th. One former president of the Association of Psychologists, Dr. Keith Likwai, says the people of Trinidad and Tobago have created the problems which are being faced today, the problems including crime and violence.
We have earned this culture that we have created in terms of the violence and the social. And of course, yes, there's the whole peekaboo social media aspect of it now, where everything is on,
everything's
it's on your,
out there,
social media and the phone
I think we
and
have
so on.
to.
And the immediate past president of the association, Anna Maria Mora, said that the older people must teach the younger ones about the power to choose.
Our power to choose our good. I don't think we help our young people to understand that we have the power to choose, we have the power to think for ourselves, and that is what I always say. People say, Maria, you're always on this thing. Yeah, that makes us different from the animals. Yeah. Because we have intelligence and will.
While the Tobago Hoteliers Association is happy with the new tourism authority in Tobago and says its purpose is to ensure every dollar benefits the industry on that island. The executive of the authority was launched on Wednesday, according to Chris James, president of the association. This is a good move for the island.
Tourism in Tobago has enormous spin-on effects. It has so much trickle-down because it's our main economic driver and creates most of the jobs, and it can be a real benefit. So this tourism authority needs to sit down with the private sector. We'll come up with a marketing plan. I was very pleased. I met with the new secretary for tourism and culture on Monday. We talked about the challenges that we have, top of which is the destination marketing. We don't believe enough destination marketing has been done.
He said if they get that correct, they can work with the Tobago House of Assembly and the central government on how to use the money to benefit all.
So the Tourism Authority is critical for that, because for too long we've had a TDC board that sits in Trinidad. At most we've had 2 members from Tobago. I think at the moment we only have 1. So we've never felt comfortable with the arrangement. So we're very pleased. We want Tobago to be marketed separately to Trinidad. I understand now that the Trinidad private sector also wants Trinidad to be marketed separately. So we'll market Trinidad and we'll market Tobago. There will be times when we can join forces.
You're watching the CNews Live report at noon. Remember, you can keep up to date with all the latest news on our website at ctvtt.com, or you can check out our Facebook and Twitter pages at CNews Live. More needs to be done by the government to create an environment in which diversification can realistically take place in Trinidad and Tobago. This according to the chairman of the Economic Development Advisory Board, Dr. Terence Farrell. Speaking at the launch of the EDAB's website this morning, Dr. Farrell said while sectors like the energy industry are well endowed with incentives from government, other sectors such as the creative industry need more support.
So whether it is film and music and fashion and so on, the budget comes along, you get cut and so on. So we are trying to figure out a way in which those initiatives, once they've been identified as high priority supporting the diversification strategy, that we find a way to ensure that they are consistently funded.
He said the private sector has been on the ball in finding investment opportunities.
If the private sector comes into you and they say to you, look, Guyana, because they can see opportunity in Guyana. In fact, our private sector guys are already looking at those markets. You know, all those markets that I've mentioned are markets where our private sector already is beginning to exploit. So that for me is an indicator that, hold on a minute, here is a possibility. So how can the government now support that?
Now, the EDAB was born out of the EDB, which was established by the last administration and has been in operation since December 2015. The independent board is responsible for formulating policy proposals to government for consideration with the goal of creating a more sustainable economy. The public can now log on to their newly launched website to find out more about their work at edab.org.tt. Well, Dr. MacArthur Linda Sandy Lewis, the Calypso Rose, is back in Trinidad and Tobago, fresh off her award-winning trip to France. A tired but happy Calypso Rose showed off her Victoire de la Musique Award, the French equivalent of the Grammy Award. She is the first person from the Caribbean to win the award. She also broke ground during the ceremony as the first performer to be given an encore in the award's history. CNews asked the Calypso Queen what message she had for citizens following her win.
I stood firm and I have brought glory to you all. I have brought the light, and this light will be shining forever and ever. This is history has been made in February 2017.
And the Minister of Community Development, Culture and the Arts was on hand to welcome the veteran Calypsonian home. She said Rose's story is an inspiration to us all.
She entered a traditional man world, and she has really excelled, and it speaks volumes for women in general.
Well, here now is a look at your weather forecast.
The dry season does not mean that there will be no rainfall. It just means that fewer showers are expected, but we'll still see some moisture pushing in from Guyana, bringing a few showers, especially across the hills of Trinidad and parts of Tobago. It will feel warm at 30 to 32 degrees Celsius, but it may also feel humid at times. For mariners heading out, look for a slight to moderate chop, 1 to 1.5 meters offshore, up to 2 meters out in the Atlantic, with northeasterly swells of 9 seconds, becoming more northerly and longer through Friday. Northeast to easterly winds of 10 to 15 knots may bring some whitecaps, with your low tide at 1:30 and your high tide at 8 p.m. That is the latest weather, and I am meteorologist Dean Wallace.
The Water and Sewerage Authority says it will respond to statements made on Wednesday that toxic lead from the Guanapo landfill was getting into the Caroni Water Treatment Plant, and the water is then sent to people's homes. CNews contacted WASA for comment on this, and we were told they are working on a statement. It was revealed on Wednesday the pollutant known to cause neurological disorders has been contaminating water supplied to the Caroni Water Treatment Plant for years. According to Swimcol, they cannot afford to monitor the situation at the Guanapo landfill. He said $24 million is needed to remedy the Guanapo dump, but only $1 million was allocated through the public sector investment program. A person who applied for a Housing Development Corporation home should follow up on their application every 6 months and not every week. This from the Corporate Communications Manager at the Ministry of Housing, D.K. Noel, as he spoke on Good Morning Trinidad and Tobago.
According to D.K. Noel, Corporate Communications Manager at the Ministry of Housing, there are two ways to get the information. Either visit the Ministry of Housing offices or message the Ministry of Housing on their Facebook page.
The database is an IT platform, and with IT platforms and IT and technology of that nature, little glitches can occur. I'm not saying that people may have fallen off of the system because of IT, but little things can occur. So we want to ensure that, every 6 months you do that follow-up. You ensure that your application is still there, your reference number hasn't changed, and all those things.
He said there are about 120,000 persons who have applied for homes, and they are given out based on certain criteria, with the exception of emergency cases.
The HGC has their process that they will follow in terms of how they will go about contacting people or notifying people once you've reached that stage where you've qualified, and they will contact you in that regard. I will like persons to understand that it's 120,000 persons on the database based on the figure. So, and of course, our housing stock cannot accommodate a home for every 100,000 persons on that database.
Recently, the ministry said state housing will be made more available to middle and low income earners. It increased the minimum income to allow for this.
The funding is available to anyone, be it HCC, customers, other government-related agencies who offer housing programs, or on the open market. So once the property value is 1 million and less, you can get a 2% interest rate. If it's 1.5 million and less, you can get the 5% interest rate.
The interest rate increases by 0.5% every year. For 2% interest rate, it goes up to 5%, and for 5% interest rate, it goes until it meets the market rate.
Minister of Works and Transport Rohan Sananan has reaffirmed this country's ties with St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Speaking at the opening of the Argyle International Airport on Tuesday, the minister said both countries have enjoyed a history of close fraternal relations whose ties have continued to develop over the years. In addition, he said mutual interests and opportunities for bilateral cooperation in areas such as capacity building, culture, education, health, security, and trade continue to be as strong as today as they always have been. Sananan stated Trinidad and Tobago lent financial support to the construction of the Argyle International Airport in 2008, as it was recognized the potential of the Argyle International Airport to transform the Vincentian economy, boost its tourism industry, and promote economic diversification. Well, we now have sport with Nasira Mohammed. Bad news for TNT Red Force.
Definitely bad news because they were defeated by 292 runs by the Jamaica Scorpions yesterday in the Regional Super 50 tournament. Newly installed national men's football team coach Dennis Lawrence has selected his first team to be in training for the upcoming World Cup qualifiers against Panama and Mexico in March. As we hear from Ken Fuentes, Lawrence named a 27-man training squad consisting mainly of locally based players to begin training on February 20th.
Lawrence says the training camp for the locally based players will begin on February 20th, following the completion of the local Pro League a day earlier. And though he has selected an initial 27 players, he says the door is not shut to those who have been in the mix recently and are not selected.
The players on this list are only the players that are immediately going to start with me. The other players are still available for selection if and when needed. So from that point of view, it's not to say it's difficult, but there's a process that you need to look and identify the players that you think are capable of doing what you want to do.
Lawrence says he has been to several Pro League games since his appointment, and has selected players for the training camp from there and believes the league is showing signs of improvement.
Yeah, I think I was impressed with the Pro League from a fact that I'm seeing teams trying to be brave and experiment. I'm seeing a tactical know-how from the coaches and the managers. Obviously, in terms of the fan base, you know, it hasn't really changed much, which I would have liked to see that improve.
He also defended his choices for backroom staff, among them former national coach Stuart Charles Frevier of W Connection, whose knowledge of the local game he views as vital. A name added to the coaching staff is former national striker Stern John, this country's all-time leading goal scorer, an appointment Lawrence believes will serve the team well.
And I think Stern has a lot to offer in terms of his experience, his knowledge of working at the club at this moment in time, and he's ambitious. One of the things that I mentioned before when I came home is that I think it's important that we start educating our own as well. And Stern is one of the coaches that I've talked with me in terms of, I think I want to help Stern as well by educating him to become the best possible coach he can come.
Well, schoolgirls rugby returned to the Queen's Park Savannah as the season continued. It was a matchup of Holy Name A versus Holy Name B, and from the looks of things, here the team in red without the bibs showed they had the energy and skills to get this early try. The conversion for 2 extra points, though, was unsuccessful. All in all, it was the red team that dominated, and as the young women honed their skills in one of the toughest sports on the planet. And that was the sport for today.
And that brings us to the end of the CNews Report at noon. I'm Karen Kuzia-Phillip.
And I'm Nasira Mohammed.
Remember, for up-to-date and breaking news throughout the day, you can visit the CNews website at ctvtt.com. Do have a good afternoon.